What's up, guys and gals? Mirrormask here. I'm gonna do a quick little video. I got an email the other day, well, yesterday, from a subscriber, and they asked a question that at first I was kind of just, I was quick to answer, but then the more I thought about it, the more I decided I wanted to make a video on it. And the question that was asked was, do I prefer PVE versus PvP in MMOs, and what were some of my recommendations for a good PVE game? And at first I was like, oh yeah, I love a little bit of both. And the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to make a video. There's certain things about PvP, if done right, I really love, but there's certain types of PvP that I don't really like. Games come out like Kingdom's Rise or Panzer, or MOBA style games, or just straight arena style games that have no other aspect to the game other than lobby based arena combat. I'm not so much into that kind of PvP. I like to have a whole lot more going on in the game other than just straight up PvPing all the time. With that being said, I do like games like World of Warcraft or Warhammer Online or Rift, or games like that that do have arena style PvP in them, while also having a whole bunch of other stuff to do. I love PvE, I really do, but saying I love PvE, you have to think, looking back to like when I first started playing MMORPGs and stuff. PVE back then is not what PVE is today. I really enjoy the way PVE is today. Back in the day, they didn't have Quest or anything like that. You basically grinded your way to level, and a lot of Asian style games you still kind of do that, although the majority of them have started taking on Quest as something that has to be done in a modern day game because it's just not enjoyable to the mass population of MMO players today. We expect quest, we expect crafting, we expect things to do in PvE other than go out and just kill mobs to level up. And mobs, baddies, enemies, bad guys, whatever you want to call them. I'm old school, I call them mobs. And there's certain games that have come out that have just, in my mind, did a really good job at PvE. Guild Wars 2, perfect example. I loved the way that Guild Wars 2 did their PvE. Back in the day when Quest first started coming around, they had you running all over the map and just stupid distances. Go over here, the cliche, go kill 10 rats, come back, turn the quest back in. And quests like that don't really bother me, but it's when games do quests like go out, kill 10 rats on the other side of the map, come all the way back, and then I'm going to give you another quest because I discovered something about the rats. Now I want you to go back over there and kill 10 more rats all the way across the map. And then when you come back, I'm going to give you another quest that's going to send you right back to that area anyway. See, I don't like that. I like when they optimize, when they think tank it out, when they're designing these quests and the way quests move you throughout the world and stuff. I like when they put a little bit more thought into it than that. Go kill 10 rats in this area. Oh, along the way, you're going to pick up a couple of more quests that's going to open up the story a little bit more. And once you get over there to kill the rats, you don't have to run all the way back over here to me. I like quests like that. I like the more modern approach to PvE questing that developers have started taking on. And I go back to Guild Wars 2, perfect example. You start here, you go out into the world, and you gain and turn in quests along the way. You don't have to keep running back and forth kind of stuff. And that's the way I like PvE. Back in the day when that's all we had was go 10 rats and then come back and then I'll send you right back the same way. It was fun back then, but now that, you know, games have moved in to kind of a next gen type of questing, I totally prefer it more. And, you know, games really need to take note of that. And even the Asian market games, because there's a ton of MMOs in Asian markets that just will never see, you know, they'll never hit the coast of America ever. And there's been a lot of games that I've followed through the years that I really wanted to come to the US, and they just never did. I mean, there's just so many games over there that just look so awesome that sometimes I have no choice but to go play on their servers and try to understand what's going on in the game without being able to read anything. But yeah, you know, they've started to, you know, take note of how the questing's done and stuff too. You know, they're starting to optimize their quest flow a little bit more too. But back to the PvP style games, like arena style games like Panzer and what was the Warhammer Online one, Wrath of Heroes. I played that probably for about 2 months, then I kind of got fed up with it. I don't know, that style of combat just, I don't like it. It's not that I'm not good at it, it's just that, you know, it's great if you're the kind of gamer that wants to jump in for, you know, 20-30 minutes, get a few quick games in, and then go about your day, or you gotta, you know, do it during lunch break or whatever, or before homework and after homework if you're a younger player. But yeah, I mean, that's great, you know, if you're that kind of player. But me personally, to answer, you know, that email question and everything, I don't prefer that style of PvP. Now, give me a game like Guild Wars 2, or give me a game like Warhammer Online, or World of Warcraft, or hopefully like WildStar will be that way too, or you know, Star Wars: The Old Republic, or Star Trek Online, something where the PvP is encompassed in the entire game. Like the whole game does not just revolve around PvP, but it's in there. I like games like that because sometimes I do feel like just jumping in for a round or two of arena style PvP or something like that, you know, or battleground style things, or war fronts, or depending on what game you play, it's, you know. But I like PvP this massive. You see what I'm saying? Like, not just 5 versus 5 or 3 versus 3 kind of thing. Because there's some players, I mean, let's be honest, some of us are really good at, you know, 3v3 or 5v5 or 10v10 or something like that. And some of us aren't. But we may be really good, I say we as in, you know, general MMO gamers, may be good at open world, like huge mass scale. I'm talking Warhammer Online, or, you know, Guild Wars 2 style combat where, you know, 50 versus 50, or 100 versus 100, or 200 versus 200. And, you know, it may be easier for some players to find their role, find their niche, so to speak, in that style of PvP, and find it enjoyable and find it fun. You know, that kind of PvP, I enjoy that. Not that I'm not good at 5v5 or 3v3 or 10v10 style, you know, just arena, like team versus team kind of thing. I'm not saying I'm not good at that. I'm just saying I prefer open world PvP. I love it. I love when there's large armies of players versus others, and, you know, because you have to be a little bit more tactical. You have to, you know, there's a lot more involved in large siege style PvP versus just arena style. And, you know, to where the players' skills and the decisions they make and stuff like that, and the tactical advantages that they gain or don't gain, you know, it's not influenced so much by what one player does or doesn't do or messes up on or doesn't get right. You know, it's just more fun, in my opinion, the larger ones, because, you know, it's not fun to me when I'm in like a 5v5, for example, and one guy messes up, or even worse, a 3v3 and one guy messes up, and it's almost a guaranteed loss right there, because, you know, one guy missed a skill or didn't break, you know, a stun lock on top or something, whatever the case may be. I don't prefer that style of PvP. And to answer the other part of his question, what PvP or PVE games do I recommend that have just really good PVE content to them? The first one that comes to mind has got to be Lord of the Rings Online. I mean, hands down, in my opinion, that game, Lord of the Rings Online, I played that game for a long time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed every aspect of it. I enjoyed the way that they completely separated the PvP from the PvE, and focused primarily. I mean, they did a little focusing on the PvP, but let's be honest. I mean, creeps versus freeps, you could tell. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of, money spent on that development side of it, but the PvE was incredible. So yeah, I mean, if you're watching this video, or if any of you are watching this video, you've never played Lord of the Rings Online and you really want a good PvE game, hands down, Lord of the Rings Online. I mean, if you can get by, the older gameplay mechanics, and I mean, the graphics still look really good, in my opinion. I mean, for even today's standards, the graphics on max setting, Lord of the Rings Online, still look pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for that deep, rich storyline, PvE content wise, yeah, Lord of the Rings Online. Guild Wars 2, if you're in more of a, you want to feel like you're part of the story kind of thing. Although, I mean, I think it could have been done a little bit better. I didn't really feel like my decisions were impacting the world so much the way that they intended for it to feel. Star Wars: The Old Republic, same thing. It's one of the games where you make choices throughout the game, and it's supposed to influence the game world, but really it just influences your personal story. And a lot of people just they don't end up feeling like the game developers intended you to feel. But still, really solid PvE stuff. Star Wars: The Old Republic and Guild Wars 2, really solid PvE games. But hands down, Lord of the Rings Online. I used to recommend Warhammer Online to people for both PvE and PvP. I really enjoyed Warhammer Online. I enjoyed the art style. I enjoyed the gameplay. I enjoyed the open world RVR kind of gameplay. I loved it. I hate that game went away. I mean, I really do, and I hope someone will scoop that up and make a new one. With better mechanics, better graphics, stuff like that. But yeah, games have really, stepped up, from what they used to be. The old tab targeting system. When you play something like Guild Wars 2 or Terra or something like that, it's hard to go back tab targeting. It really is. I mean, I can do it. I have done it. I've gone back and played a couple of games that are tab target, but games like, what is it, Dragon's Prophet, I played that for probably about 2 months. But just that free aim kind of thing, like Age of Conan, I think, was kind of like that, but it was more directional movement of your mouse kind of combat. But still, just that free aim thing. I love that. I love that they have came up with that for a combat mechanic in most modern day MMOs. I know WildStar has it, and a couple other games that are coming out are going to have it. Black Desert. I don't know if Black Gold has. I think Black Gold is targeted system, like tab target and stuff. Now, I tell you, games that I don't really prefer that are PvE style games are the games that do it in a first person perspective. I mean, I really think first person is, it's phenomenal when you're playing a first person shooter or a survival game or something along those lines. But when you try to do it in an MMORPG game, it just doesn't feel right to me. Like, for example, Darkfall, which completely fell on its rear, and it just it didn't live. It's, in my mind, I think it's hard for a game to live up to its expectations when it is a MMORPG, a huge open world kind of game with quest and all this stuff, but it's done in a first person thing. I don't think there's any game that I can think of that has done it right so far. Now, can it be done? Yes, I think it can be done. I really do. It's just that, you have to add in, something to grip players. Because, I mean, yeah, you're aiming for the MMORPG market, but you're also trying to pull in the first-person shooter market. And I think if you're trying to tug a war between the two and get them both into your game, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I don't know how they need to look at it, but every game I've seen that they've tried to do a huge MMORPG kind of game, but with a first-person perspective, just hasn't done too well that I can think of, or at least hasn't done as well as straight up third person view MMORPGs like Rift or World of Warcraft or Warhammer Online or games like that. I think there's a huge population of players out there that they like to see their character. You know what I mean? They like to see their character in front of them and see around them at the same time, and they don't want to play an MMORPG where it's like this, where they have to turn to see. No, they want to be able to see what's all around them. And I mean, I like that view better. I mean, I really do. I really like the third-person view better. But I'm just ranting and rambling now. I mean, to answer the guy's question and everything, I do like a little bit of both, but very specific kinds. I don't like just straight-up arena-style games that are lobby-based and all that for PvP, but I do love PvP in an open-world kind of environment, or at least the game is a huge open world with all kinds of stuff to do, and you can do PvP while in the game. I like that kind of PvP. Which kind of PvP do I prefer? Is inside that kind of game, the huge open world stuff, the realm versus realm kind of stuff, where you just got huge armies of players versus other huge armies of players, where you just move as siege style. That's what I'm getting at. Just siege style combat. I love that. That's my favorite kind of PvP. Now, as far as the PvE stuff, what kind of PvE do I like? To answer that part in a nutshell would be, I don't like personal stories. I like huge game stories that I go along through, because to date there hasn't really been a game that's tried to do a personal story kind of PvE thing and it actually worked for me. See what I'm saying? I mean, just, will there be a game? Possibly, yeah. I'm pretty sure eventually a game will come out where they do the personal story, and one wrong move can truly impact the world. But as far as every game I've played, no. I don't feel like my personal decisions and my personal storyline impact the world in the way that I think the developers kind of advertise that it would. No, it just impacts your point of view throughout the world. And yeah, one day, cross fingers here, they will come out with a game where your actions do impact the world. I don't know how. It'd probably be very difficult to do, because if you've got millions of players all making their own individual decisions, that would be a whole lot of different things impacting the world. Now, maybe you could do something along the lines of, if a certain percentage of players chose this type answer, for example, then the world will change this way. Or if this crowd of people, this percentage of people chose the other answer, then the world will tilt more that way. A game that I can think of that kind of did something along those lines was a game called Faction. And it was put out by True Games, the same people that put out Warrior Epic. It was spelled Faxion, Faction. I think that's how it's pronounced. But in that game, it was the 7 deadly sins kind of thing. It was like a heaven versus hell kind of game, angels versus fallen angels kind of mix or something. And it's like, all right, if the good guys, the heaven side, for example, went out and quested and done all this stuff and helped shape the world and kind of pushed away the 7 deadly sins in the PvP combat and stuff, then the entire world would change for the other players. It would be a very bad experience for the other side, for the other faction. But if they, for example, ruled all 7 of the PvP zones, the 7 deadly sins, lust, greed, all that stuff, the 7 deadly sins, if they owned or ruled all 7 of those in the PvP zones, then the entire world would change for the bad, for the heaven side. Something like that could work in a huge MMORPG because it was proven that it worked in a small game like Faction. So, something along that lines, where if a faction, an entire faction, and that's another question, some people, I've read many things where some people say, faction combat is both good, and some people say it's bad. It's good and bad, depending on who you talk to. Personally, I think when you have different factions, I think you should have at least 3. I mean, 2 factions is kind of, it turns into a bad versus good. Like World of Warcraft, for example. Alliance is seen as good. Horde is seen as bad, depending on who you talk to. But they're both trying to accomplish their own goals here. Neither's good or bad. You see what I'm saying? It's just 2 factions trying to shape the world how they see fit. There is no good or bad side. So, yeah, it tends to lead to that mentality, and then you get all the lowlifes and all this stuff. That, I'm not saying that people that play Horde are lowlife, or people that play Alliance are goody-goody two-shoes or anything like that. I'm just saying, when the concept of this side is good and this side is evil, the evil side tends to draw in just because it's an idea that this side is evil. It draws in some of these scummiest asshole type people out there. I played Horde and I played Alliance. I made a lot of good people on both sides. But I did see when I was playing, in the Horde chat, it just seemed to be a lot more negative attitudes, in other games that I played where there's only been 2 factions, and as it was proposed that this one's good and this one's evil kind of thing. The one that everyone thinks is the evil side tends to draw the more asshole-ish type people. Same thing in Warhammer Online. But then you get a game that has more than 2 factions, and then there's no clear definition of this side's good, this side's evil, but this side's neutral, or are they bad, or are they good, or are these guys neutral? You see what I'm saying? The more factions you have, when you have at least 3 factions, there's no finite, these are evil, these are good kind of thing, and I think that helps to balance the community of a game out a lot better, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope that answers all the questions and everything that guy had asked me in the email. I tried to reply back to the email. It was very short answered, but I decided I'd make a video about it, and hopefully it's answered his questions and everything. Wow, I've already rolled on for 23 minutes. But anyway, if you made it to the end, I really appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on and give you some of my thoughts and ideas and stuff. Make sure to subscribe to the video, like the video, comment on it. Please leave in the comments, your thoughts on what type of PVE do you like? I mean, do you agree with me? Do you like the huge open world? Don't really like the personal storylines? Or, is your opinion of that of you prefer personal storylines, or you like the personal storylines in Guild Wars 2 or anything like that? I mean, I respect all gamers' opinions and stuff. I mean, just because I like something doesn't mean that I think that's the final say in anything. I mean, I've met and hung out and played with over the years many different types of gamers, and I've come, when I first started playing like online games, massive games like Dark Age of Camelot days and stuff like that, you formed your own opinions and you kind of seem to stick with them. But the longer you play games, the more you start to be a little bit more lenient to other players' ideas and stuff. And then, you know, when you get a couple of years under your belt, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 15 years of playing online games, you learn to just, you know, kick back and enjoy the game. You know, stay out of general chat like that, and just, you know, meet your friends in game, team up with them, form guilds, and just learn to respect people. You know, I mean, I think a lot of the younger crowd these days, they don't have that. You know, I mean, I remember back in the day when, you know, you play MMORPGs, these massive online games and stuff. Sure, there was, you know, remarks here and there, but it was none of the like sewer trash talking kind of stuff that you see in general chat and games these days. Terra Online, oh my god! For example, go if you've never played Terra Online, go play Terra Online and just hang out and read general chat. It's just the way people treat each other in online games. You know, it's far beyond, you know, trash talking like you do in PvP and stuff like that. But no, this is just, man, it's gotten rough the past few years, and I don't know where it's coming from. You know, I really don't, and it's weird because I started to see, you know, the way people act in games and stuff, the way they treat each other and talk to stuff. And then you look at like the up and coming generation, you know, the 14, 15, 16-year-olds and stuff like that. Man, they've taken that attitude that they developed in online games and they just bring it out to the real world. And they just talk to people like somebody ain't gonna smack them in the jaw or something, you know what I mean? I'm down in the South. I'm in South Georgia, man. Oh man, we don't let little young people talk to us like that down here. You must be crazy. No man, you learn to respect people down here. You know what I mean? But that's just how it is. Like when I was up in Toronto, you know, everyone seems to keep to themselves and everything, but the way when people do interact with each other, these young people, you know, I was like riding a bus, or well, I guess you could call it a bus. It's like one of those streetcar things with the cables that hook up at the top. I guess it was a streetcar. We don't have those down here. Everybody drives down here. But yeah, I overheard a conversation, and it was this guy. He was probably his 20s or something, and I don't know. I'd say maybe 25, 26, something like that. And then there was this young guy who I could definitely tell was still in high school, and they weren't brothers or nothing. They were just, they knew each other. So I don't know. I just overheard the conversation. I don't know how they knew. But it's like the young guy was talking to this older guy like it was somebody his own age, like completely forgetting that this dude's got, you know, 10 or so years on you. Even though he's not, you know, there in age, he's still a lot older than you. I mean, he's grown. He's an adult, you know, and you're just talking to him like you have no respect for him. It's just, yeah, I don't know. That's just me rambling. But anyway, subscribe to the video, like the video, leave your comments below, share the video, and you guys take care and peace.